Welcome back everyone to the main room. I hope each one of you had a good time in the breakout session. And well, I was in group 1. So I guess, Mariana, we can go just, how many rooms did we have?
We had 8 rooms.
Okay, fine. So we will just go by room number because I don't know who was here, who was where. So group number 1, we have Karthik Hebbar to present the summary on our behalf. 1-minute summaries from each group, please. Over to you, Karthik. Karthik, over to you for the summary of group 1.
Maybe Karthik is very shy.
Well, he was very much with us. Okay, fine. We will wait for group 1. Group 2, whoever from group 2 is presenting the summary, please do. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Shivanjali. And I had Kavita and Azuma with me in group 2. So there are a couple of points that we discussed. One was, of course, the the general stigma which is there in India, and which was one of the major issues for not being able to access support. Of course, with COVID, I think there has been a big shift in this, because it has highlighted a lot. It has put mental health in the spotlight. So like for instance, one of the examples that we discussed was an experience that I had in my previous organization, where we were providing mental health support in the rural areas where we were working. And while the community was extremely distressed, but what we realized was that it was the local level officials who were most affected, and these same officials who just 2 months before would have told us that we don't want counseling, we are not mad, and those were the that would have been the language that they would have used, and they did use. But just in those 2 months after the first lockdown was announced, the CEO of the Zilla Parishad, the Tehsildar, the BDO, they were all requesting us to provide counseling support to people across the board. So I think and even the government officials, the lower level bureaucracy, who if we had even talked about counseling before, they would not have listened to us at all. They came back saying that we are extremely distressed. There's nobody whom we can talk to because we don't want to upset our family members. Other colleagues are all equally stressed. We want to talk to your counselors. They actually came back to counselors saying that please also speak with our family members. People came back saying that if the counselors don't call us again, we will do so. So that, I think, shift in mindset is happening. Second is, of course, the problems with low professional support, which Chris had mentioned. Just the absolutely minuscule number of professionals that we have in this space. Another issue was that because mental health is something that in the sector itself, people are just talking about it. That all the different intersections are still not being mapped out. So even if somebody wants to take up any mental health project, there are no ready-made frameworks, contextualized frameworks that you can use the way you can do for gender, for instance. So probably we are at the stage where gender was, say, in the 1970s, where organizations then, like, in the 70s and 80s, showed through research.
Shivanjali, allow me to come in. We need to restrict ourselves to 1 minute
Sorry.
summaries, please, because
Yes,
there
I
are
think
8 groups.
and one important point was people at the margins and impact of mental health on them. That is something that has not been really worked on. Yes, I am done. Thanks.
Thank you so much. And I'm sorry that I had to come in because we have to manage time as well. Okay, group 3 summary, please.
Yes, this is Dipali who will be speaking on behalf of Group 3. I'll just read out the points that we discussed so that we can save time. So the challenges discussed in our groups were, first, unavailability of professionals, especially in rural areas. Second, lack of proper technology in this field. Third, critical role of career being unrecognized. Fourth, stigma attached. Fifth, availability of trained people in urban areas too. Sixth, access to support centers. Seventh, unavailability of applied knowledge, means we have good degree holders, but we are not sure whether they could really help out someone at actual on the field immediately. Need to create regional resources, media's role, of course, people promoting mental health just for money making. For example, people promoting superstitions, because in communities, you can see they have these ways which are reached more than the mental health promoters. Next is the acceptance that therapists need to work on themselves regularly. Other is people considering mental health as not an issue at all. Last two are unavailability of professionals had come a lot of times, attitudinal issues amongst professionals. So these are the points that we have discussed. Thank you.
That's an excellent summary. Thank you for presenting. And I love the writing behind you. Imperfections indeed are beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, over to group 4.
Group 4, I think we had 5 members in the group 4. We discussed different issues in the group 4, but we try to prioritize 4 to be presented here. So I'll just read out. It's about, one of them is under-resourced and underfunded. When it's funded also, it's declining. The budget is declining year by year. It's happening in India. It's happening in Sri Lanka. Also, when it's funded, it's geared towards more towards the acute illnesses that is in the country, and the structure, infrastructure, everything is geared towards that. The other challenge that, or the other issue that we found, was the advocacy. The advocacy at the moment is not very systematic and is not very strategic at the moment. But it is like a very dramatic, and also we felt it's brand oriented rather than trying to achieve or get the message across. The fourth one and the final one, I think we think is about mental health is all about rights. So due to stigma, we all find difficult to talk about it. And we have fear, we being shamed, or we have fear of, not being, so that's something that mental health should be, it's everybody's right, and we should be able to speak about it free. And our group also had one discussion about it. I think it's based on Dr. Shastri's presentation. Sorry, Dr. Shekhar's presentation. The services that are geared now, for example, he mentioned about services being integrated with other services. Rather than having a budget on mental health, can it be integrated with other services? That also could help us to prevent and also do inclusive services. So it's not a problem for us when we talk about resource all the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Bunny. Over to group 5. This was, Bunny, yours was group 4?
Yes.
Yeah, so group 5, please.
Hi, I think it is our group. Is that Aparajita and Chinta speaking here? Yes.
We are group 7, I think, but we can do it, Chinta, not a problem. Yeah.
Okay. Our group was mostly concentrating on the COVID-19 situation and the mental implications on mental health of the people, because like it is around Sri Lanka and India we were talking about. And one thing is came out was that the people with the restrictions, people have become so isolated, and that causes because these human beings are social creatures, and when they are got into one place, and it has itself has created mental stress, and so that will increase the incidence of mental illnesses which are being hidden, because at the moment the treatment or people are concerned who have already been identified with mental illnesses, but due to COVID, there are a lot of people must be hidden and not being, observed by anybody because of the distancing and all those reasons. Then awareness on mental health is actually online in once it's like it's mostly through virtual systems people have been educated, and there are in the vulnerable groups and the areas of remoteness, the things are not really communicated to the people. Stigma, like one is said, is an issue, so I'm not going to explain it. It's the same thing. And we also found that, yes, in Sri Lanka, the medical side, the treatment, even getting medication during COVID time, delivered at home is there, but of course there's a declining of support structures that the Sri Lankan culture has. Like there's always people there to help another person when somebody is in trouble, and that has been disturbed due to COVID as well as due to medicalizing the mental health. That is one of the issues which has to be thought about, because we had a system of mitigating the implications on mental health or the issues related to mental that causes mental health, stopping it, that is missing at the moment. And also some of these spiritual therapies and also recreation, all those has been stopped by due to COVID, and that also create mental stress. Then there was also about the children, because there's a lot of fear that people tend to, families tend to not to get children to move out or even to go into the centers that they have been supported with, and that has also created some kind of their space to have some interactions, and also to have some mental release. Then like also the other thing is that everybody talks about the global fund in this COVID-19 will become like HIV AIDS one of the key things, but actually when we talk about it, the mental health issues are one of the major thing that they have to think about, because of different reasons, different economic reasons, there are the social reasons. People have become mentally distressed, and there might be a big implication on that. So therefore the global funding should think about, when they're talking about COVID-19, there's also a subcategory of mental health that has to be taken into account, because so far that has not been researched. What was the impact of COVID-19 on mental health of the people?
Please, I'm sorry to intervene, but we are taking way too much time. We are going way beyond 1 minute. What we are missing is a chance to listen to Chris and Shekhar responding to these challenges. So if you and the rest of the groups, please stick to the 1 minute summary. Thank you, Chinta. Please continue.
I have finished. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And sorry for cutting in, but I have to keep an eye on the time. Okay, group 6 and 1 minute, please.
That's me, Paramita. So you can
Thanks,
save
Chris.
a minute off my talking if I overtalk. Just to let you know that Garima, Naveen, Monica, Aruna, Enoch, and Subhranshu were the members of my group. And I think the most important thing that we agreed straight away was that we would like to see an interest group formed. So we want to see an interest group formed under Catalyst going forward. So that seemed to me to be an important thing that we emphasized on. We discussed the whole question of insurance in mental health. Yeah. And there was a warning to make sure that this insurance did not just simply cover psychiatry, but that it also covered a more generic form of mental health care. For example, psychology and community-based and CBT cognitive behavioral therapy, for example. There was quite a lot of discussion around the degree to which mental health care was taken seriously within the community, and the degree to which people understood that this was something which was not just about being ill, but it was also about things like empathy, and that it was as much to do with prevention as it was to do with cure. And so there was a very wide-ranging discussion, which I thought was helpful and very useful. So I'm just going to finish there in the interests of speed parameter, but let me say that it was a fruitful and useful conversation.
So much.
Garima, can you maybe mute yourself, Garima?
Thank you, Chris, also for that intervention. Group 7, quickly. I'll just take 10 seconds to say that I've shared an email address. The insufficiency of time is pointed to how important the issue is. So please connect back with us on that email so we can take this forward. Over to Group 7. Group 7.
Ms. Banerjee, I think group 7 was that which Aparajita Dhar had started, and they said that they could present it before time. So in case you would allow, it would be group 8.
Yes, please.
Thank you, ma'am.
So it's now group 8.
Yes, thank you so much, Chris. Good evening, everyone. I was a part of breakout room number 8. And we had Mr. Sheshadri, Ritika, Soham, Gargi, and myself as part of this group. And to just keeping the time limitations in mind, what we discussed was that one was children in conflict with law. How was they supposed to be brought into the mainstream? The second was as far as in case somebody is a special educator, how does she or he get the children to be motivated for their board examinations, or maybe that career fight that they are confronted with in the current situation? And one more was that how can we maintain the adolescents' motivation levels? How can we manage their mental health with the board exams around the corner, which in most of the cases were getting cancelled or postponed? So there was a lot of stress as far as those children were concerned. So thanks to Dr. Sheshadri that he did the ice breaking for us, and he set the mood going, and we could be at ease to put our queries forth. And of course, I had a question regarding the Catalyst 2030, so he briefed us about that as well. And in a nutshell, what we at the end of the conversation made out was that we need to look at the entire SDG from the context of vulnerable children. The need of the hour is to look at the digital platforms that we have and how can we incorporate those in order to boost our children's morale. It is immaterial, and like, for example, every one of us know that currently most of the schools have gone into the vacations. So it's not just about teachers or parents. More so, as far as we parents are concerned, as parents, we should act in a dialogue mode rather than instruction mode. Right, and that would definitely help the adolescent children to.
Sorry for cutting in again. Please. Ms.
Banerjee, I am done. I am just on the verge of it. And as Dr. Sheshadri has mentioned, that the context matters. So we should take help from the NEP as well. And NEP tells us something to do with more gap years. So we can have a look into that, and we can be in a much better position than we currently are feeling ourselves to be. Thank you, Ms. Banerjee. Thank you, all of you, for giving us this opportunity. Thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you. I think Karthik from Group 1 was disconnected because of a power outage. He's back now. Karthik, strictly 1 minute summary from Group 1, please, quickly.
Yeah, nothing to what everybody has said. We discussed almost the same things, other than the fact that we need to focus on how to communicate rural areas and to the illiterate part of the society about not treating psychosocial issues as a luxury per se, and how to focus on children and to make policy making about children as the focus, because post-pandemic, how to deal with the orphan children or the destituted children, what to do about them, and how to push for such policies. So we were discussing about that, and we also got to hear perceptions about Nigeria and how the policy making in Nigeria was also dealing with stigma attached to psychological health. So nothing more, everything else is what others have discussed, very similar. So I would try to wind it up now. Thanks.
Thank you, Karthik. That was very much within time. Well, I mean, we have eaten up all the time assigned to you, Chris and Shekhar, but that's the mark of a good participatory session, I guess. So we have 4 minutes left. Can I invite you to please take 2 minutes each for your call to action? 2 points of that I would like to mention. It has come out in the chat, the special need of psychosocial support for special groups like children with special needs, aging population. That's something that has come. How feasible it is to include digital technologies, given given that not too many people in countries like India has access to it. These are some of the issues that have come in. So if you please address that, both Chris and I will leave it to the two of you to take time. We will have to go. I'm saying thank you and goodbye now. And please do connect back with us through the email we have shared, because this is only the beginning. We need to take this forward. Over to you, Chris.
Oh, thank you. I'll give a very, very brief summary. To me, the immediate challenges are related to finances. I think that is going to be the most important issue from our point of view. The financing of global mental health, really important, and something that I think we need to really understand. The training of further professionals in the field, very important indeed. We must not forget the question of carers. Carers of people with a mental health problem are very, very underestimated and often not taken due account of. And then there are, I think, some specialist areas, for example, people or folk who have deafness, particularly deaf children, and children who are abused, and that is something which Dr. Shekhar has advised. Many people are emphasizing on the question of apps, and I wanted to point out too that there is a substantial rural-urban divide when it comes to technology, and that's very important. The move to community mental health has already been emphasized, and of course the question of COVID and the increase in mental health concerns are important, particularly in societies where the resilience is low at this time. Let me hand over to Shekhar at this point. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Krish. All I wanted to say is that pandemics of the nature of COVID have a disproportionate impact on the most vulnerable. And the point we wanted to make is that the world has gone digital, but there is the digital divide. And how do we reconcile these ambiguities and yet keep the spirit of the SDGs going? We have a huge challenge, and this challenge is going to push on the boundaries as far as mental health is concerned, other than many of the other systemic issues of livelihood that we're going to speak about. We are now in a situation, friends, where even the debate between livelihood and lives has become fraught with ambiguities. There's a new rethink and recalibration that we have to do, therefore, going ahead about the call for action for the SDGs for these 10 years, because COVID has put a spanner in the works. We need to be creative, we need to be empathic, and we need to be compassionate as we go forward. Thank you very much.
I mean, I can see a raised hand, but please connect with us later. We are at the end of our time. We have to log out. So thank you, Mariana, for all the support from your end. Thank you, my very dear and very erudite panelists. Thank you, all the participants. Thank you, Catalyst 2030, the wonderful platform that has made this possible. But I do hope that you will all connect back with us through mentalhealth.catalyst@gmail.com to take this forward. This is only the beginning, certainly not the end. We need to do something about it. With that, thanks once again, and bye-bye. Bye.
All the best, and thank
Connect
you,
back soon.
Paramata. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
There are other connections. Check them. See you again beyond this stage. Bye for now.